Good afternoon and welcome to the April 19th, 2021 Board of Public Works and Safety. We'll begin with our Pledge of Allegiance led by Dave Nutty.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me. Gracious God, we thank you for this day, this blessing that you've given to us. We now come and lift up this Board of Public Works and Safety for the leadership around this table and for the leadership of our mayor. We pray for the agenda before us, all those who have something on that agenda, all the decisions that will be made today, dear God. We pray for guidance and direction, and we pray a blessing upon our community and all those a part of it. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. If we would, make sure that you have your cell phone turned off, and those are out in the hallway, please remain quiet. That way the microphones will pick everybody up. And we will begin with roll call.
Brian Daub.
Present.
Becky Gibson. Present. David Nutty.
Present.
Jim Barrett.
Here.
Okay, everyone has the minutes of the April 5th, 2021 regular meeting. Is there any additions or corrections to that?
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Move on down to new business. Sharon?
Thank you for seeing me today. I came to request boot drives for this coming summer. May 1st would be our first one. September 11th would be the second one. And it would be at 6th and
Grand.
Grand, and then 24th and Grand. And we usually do them from like 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. And it would be for the House of Ruth.
Any questions?
Motion to approve the request.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sharon.
Okay, Amanda. She's a nervous cat today, so.
I'm not nervous. It's just formality at this point. I'm Amanda Falk. I'm the Executive Director of Festivals Committee. I'm here to ask for permission for on May 21st to use the city parking lot for a vendor show and event that we've put together. We're calling it Celebration in the Ville. Myself, along with 5 other groups and organizations in town, have organized 110 vendors, 5 bands and musicians, 4 food trucks, a car cruise in, and a beer and wine garden. And we'd like to use the city parking lot. We would like to shut down Thursday evening after everybody's left for the day, just the north side, so that we can put up, some of the food trucks are gonna come in Thursday night, and we have to put up perimeters for the beer garden. And then on Friday, we would like to shut down 5th Street from Central to just down to the bank. And eventually, I'm not sure how many blocks we'll need yet. We're working on a car show, and as at the moment, we have 75 cars registered. So possibly from 4th Street down to 6th Street on Central. And this is a totally free event. This has been put on by myself and, like I said, 4 or 5 other people that's helped a lot. And it's free for them to join. It's free for everybody to come and see what's going on in the community.
Where did you say on Central?
On Central from 4th to 6th. Any questions?
The street from 4th South is going to be closed at that time too, right?
And possibly,
We've talked, we said
Okay.
we'll work around it as it comes. We'll see
Okay.
where we gotta go.
Contractor's very aware of it.
So how do you separate the beer and wine garden from all the other family events?
The beer and wine garden will be set up in the courthouse parking lot, and when we set in the app, they set in to actually be able to, so they can just sit around in the parking lot. They just can't take it outside the parking lot, and that's what the snow fence is for. So they can carry around in the parking lot.
So they can carry it around anywhere.
Just in the parking lot, they can't go outside the parking lot. We set the parking lot up as where the beer garden would be at,
So it's not really a beer garden, it's just the whole area is
just that whole area.
open.
Yeah. The JCs are actually setting up the beer garden, and they're the ones that send in the application and using their insurance and everything.
And this is a family event?
It's a family open community event.
I'll make a motion to approve Amanda's request.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
One. Okay, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, approval of resolution 21-03, transfer of fire. Rosemary?
Transferring $160.30 from overtime to other employees.
I move that we approve this resolution.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much. And approval of 2021-04, abolish unpaid accounts, first aid. Again, Rosemary?
And we're abolishing the 2017 accounts for the ambulance billing.
Any questions on that? I think everyone's familiar with
Motion
that.
to approve Rosemary's request.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Move on down to department matters. Brad?
So I think the first thing on the agenda was the gentleman asked for a curb cut permit for 1911 Grand Avenue. I think everybody got a chance to look at it and talk about it a little bit. He's here again, like today, so I think that's the first thing.
Any additional comments?
I went and looked at it, and I called all of you. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna change my vote. Not personally, but because I think this is gonna be creating a major traffic problem. Backing that on to Grand.
Yeah, couldn't cause too much problem because all the other neighbors has got, they backed out on Grand.
Yeah.
And it's actually, I'm opening up another spot on Grand.
Yeah, but see, by the time we do a curb cut, I did some measurements on property that I own. I'm not allowed to park in front of one of the houses that I own because of the curb cuts. You need 20 foot, and I believe that's correct, 20 foot centered. So you'll need at least 10 foot either way, you know, that no parking. And if we did that, and if they went in and painted the rest of those driveways that you have, there would be no parking for like 50 feet in front of Junior High North.
Oh, but it's okay for them to okay it on, I believe it's 16th Street. They combined concreted the whole front of the house. In front of the house, alongside the house, there ain't even just barely enough room to park the car.
Well, I don't know how that was approved.
I don't know, Chadwick Friendly Construction is one that done it. But I went by and seen their trucks, because I was wondering. I got pictures of them on my phone.
When was this done?
Probably within the last 3 weeks. Here, Brad,
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about that one, but that's not what.
I mean, this is,
No.
but, I mean, it's crazy. I'm trying to prevent from my vehicles getting destroyed sitting there because nobody will stop and turn it in. Like I said in the last meeting, there are 2 people stopped. One was Dave Counselor, stopped. He actually made a police report. Then there's an elderly gentleman that stopped. And the other 6 mirrors I bought out of my pocket. Then my marquees got sideswiped, and you couldn't even get them to pull the video up at the school. I mean, are we supposed to not do it? I'm trying, you know, and the thing is, you go anywhere around my property, I'll be gladly to take and go for a ride with you. and show you. It looks like crap. I'm trying to make it look nice. The middle school puts on so many events, you would think you would want that area to look nice, right?
I agree with you on that.
Okay, so I'm willing to put the new sidewalk in, everything.
See, I was looking and I got on Google Earth and I even stopped by your property several times. But when I got on Google Earth, I looked at the dimensions that we had. You don't have the right width, you know, with the property. Now, I'm saying this is on Google Earth, and I looked at Google Earth and the GIS website. I don't see where you have enough room between your house and the property next door, because you have to stay 5 foot, I believe, away from the property to the north of you. I don't see where you're gonna have that much room, because it's literally gonna be more at would be the northeast corner of your house where the whole
Yeah.
driveway would be. And I don't see where you have 30 feet going to your house from the street. If the 30 feet, if you counted from the street to your house, you might have 30, but again, on GIS and Google Earth, I counted 23 feet. So if my vehicle, I'm looking at 16 feet, I mean, you might be protruding into the sidewalk, because most of the boulevard and then the sidewalk and everything else is gonna be out another 7 feet. I understand
But again, anybody that's got driveways down through there blocks the sidewalk. Every driveway. I mean, I kind of feel like this ain't being allowed because I'm not using nobody from Connersville.
No, that has nothing to do with my decision.
That's what I feel like.
I assure you that's
Because-
not my decision.
Because it's, you know, I'm trying to make it look nice down there. I've done a lot of remodeling to my property. I've done a lot of things. And, I mean, you got people just bring in a load of gravel, dump in their yard, drive up over, park in their yards and that. But that's okay? Is that what I gotta do?
No, I didn't say that was okay to do that. Now, if
Everybody else is doing it. I mean, I tried to do, what's aggravating is I tried to do this the right way. Last year, I was told by the street department I could do it. With all this COVID stuff, I respected everything, I didn't do nothing. I went down there, I was getting ready to do it. I went down there to ask them, hey, when I pull these curbs out, where would you like them at? Then that's when everything changed. So I mean, what would been if I would have just pulled the curbs out and started doing it? I mean, they give me the okay to do it, but I was trying to be nice and respectful. You know, I'm not just going to throw the curbs and stuff alongside the road.
I believe you mentioned at the last meeting, but I'm sorry, I don't recall. Why are you not parking out back?
You got dope houses out there.
I'm sorry?
You got a bunch of dope houses, drug houses. Just, you know, police department ain't going to do nothing with them. I've had them walk up to my garage and steal stuff out of my garage. And I'm supposed to park back there and let them break in my cars and stuff? I had a guy jump my fence. I got a 6-foot privacy fence. Jump my fence. I'm sitting in my garage with the doors closed. He comes through my garage and the city police wouldn't even file charges. Now, I'm trying to prevent all of this stuff. It's aggravating. When you're trying to make, you know, I don't know who it was, somebody said they wanted to make the town where people wanted to come to Connersville. Well, you come down, drive around my area, anybody that's coming in there, they ain't gonna want to come to Connersville when they see what everything is. And I mean, I'm just trying to make it look, I'm trying to, you know, do the right thing. I'm trying to make it look nice. I'm getting tired of putting money out of my pocket because it ain't worth turning into insurance when your stuff gets hit. It don't do no good to call and have a report made because nothing's done on that because you don't know who done it.
just some questions, how many vehicles do you own?
I've got 2 vehicles now and a motorcycle.
And you park one of the vehicles in the back?
And my wife's new vehicle parks in the garage.
And you have a parking spot in the back next to the garage, correct?
That's where I got I park my trailer at. Because it's nothing really on there that they can get to.
Have you talked to the neighbor to the north of you and see if there's any way that you might be able to maybe change the property lines enough to where you can go out a little bit? Because another concern of mine was going over the gas line. I just don't feel that that's a good decision too, of putting concrete over a gas line, because I swear I think that you'll have problems with that later on. And I would think the gas company, in case they had problems too, because I do believe that they're actually redoing all the gas lines again, and if you have it underneath that paved driveway approach, that's they're gonna have to move the gas lines.
What was all the work they just done there? A 3 years ago.
I don't know about it.
They went through and they had that whole road tore up. I mean, I can't, it's just a hassle.
Can you, I mean, would there be an option to be able to even purchase some of the property to the north of you in that yard? Because even looking at the driveway, straight down the line, where their garage is at here, I mean, even if you put one in that was standard, it would be 2 foot over on their property line if you missed your house. I mean, you could always change the, maybe the property lines and buy a section of their property for whatever it may be,
On which side?
to the north of you.
That's where you're putting it, right on?
Yeah, on the north side, the fence line there is where my property runs.
I just think since they've got like a 35-foot yard to the south of them in between you, maybe there's an option of gaining the 5 feet and just the section blocking it off to where you could put something off to the side of your house a little bit. I mean, we're all wanting to be able to work with you. It's not just you, and it's nothing like we were talking about it, because, that's not what I base the decision.
Well, that's just the way I'm kind of feeling, because everybody else is getting away putting driveways in, like I say, that one house done the whole front of the house, and the parking spot off to the side of it ain't even big to get a small SUV in there. It sits back on across the sidewalks.
I know that 2 of them were denied, because one of them was across the street from my house and one was right next door to my house. When they put in the new section of Grand, they were denied even though they had concrete there. They weren't allowed to be able to do the concrete the rest of the way. One was the dog grooming place, CEI Communications, and the other one was Don's Dental Lab. Both of those had to change their whole, the way that they did it before. They weren't allowed to put concrete up into the sidewalk. And I understand their, reasoning, as I do yours. But theirs was denied, now going back on 16th, whatever you said, maybe we need to look into that one, because that wasn't approved as far as I know, especially if they cut the curb. But it's nothing personal, it's nothing, I mean, I've spent probably more time looking at your property than I have in a lot of other decisions that I've made. And I'd be willing to, I'd tell you what, I'd be the type of guy that would go to your house and be able to look at different options and help you with it, if that's what it took.
You come down, get with me, come down, and we'll look at it and see, because I'm kind of confused where you're saying there ain't enough room to the side.
If GIS website is right, that's what I went by. I stopped in front of your property and I looked, and I also looked at Google Earth, and that's where the dimensions that I'm coming at is, that just not gonna, I don't see how that's gonna fit in there. Now, if that's wrong, and if you were to say, if somebody would have presented a plan to us of where the driveway is actually gonna be and shown us, more of an outline of the area, and I think that's where some of us are, would help us, if we had an outline of where exactly the driveway, but to just kind of vaguely say, this is where the driveway is going to be, this is where the curb cut's going to be. There's not enough information there for me right now to change my mind back. So, I mean, I don't, what would be the proper?
Well, we'll do a vote, but I went and talked to Bill. I want to understand what the code says, the Bill McDaniel. And he said there's obviously driveways that are on there, but most of them go to garages. About all of them go to garages. And he said you can give a special exemption for a drive parking if there's no access hardship. Well, that would be off alley or something else, which you have the alley and the access. So that's where he says a special exemption can come from for a front parking area in the driveway. He said the second thing you gotta look at is the surrounding facilities on parking, what gets used, obviously at the school there. So if you're gonna be taking away parking, which I don't know the answer to that, because.
They're
measurements.
actually gaining a spot.
No, they'll be losing because you're gonna put a driveway in.
No, because if I keep my vehicles parked out there, there's 2 spots.
No, because the drive's gonna take away from it, where they'll be able to park, because they can only park so close to a entryway. I don't know what that is because they're not painted or marked. So they'd have to be measured and lined up, and that's something Ron would have to do. I don't know how to do that. There's some measurement codes, all kinds of stuff. That's one thing Bill told me on the special exemption for a driveway in the front parking. The big thing is if there's no access hardship. That was really the only thing that he said to go by. And that's just, I'm going by what they said, not what I think or feel.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, whatever? No? I'll entertain it. Let's do a roll call vote then.
David Nutty,
No.
Jim Barrett,
No.
Brian Dobb,
No.
Becky Gibson.
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that one's a good example of why I wanted the board to think about these. You know, some of them require a lot of thought, and I know it's gonna be, this won't be the last one. That'll be difficult, so. I'm sorry, I hope it doesn't seem I was pushing that off on you, but it just seems like we've been really consistent in the past, and this will make it more consistent.
Can I say something, Brad? I just think too that the mayor's talked to the area planning commission guy. And so if the council, if this is gonna be an ongoing thing, maybe if we could have something in writing from him of what the rules and regulations are on street cuts, would help us a great deal.
It's so difficult because each one is so different. You know, the measurements and everything just come into, I'm wondering, Chad Friend did one on Ohio Avenue at 17th Street. Matter of fact, I think you happened to go over there with me, but he already had a curb cut. But they built a double garage and they were allowed under the code to expand the width of that a little bit to meet that garage. You remember this one?
Yeah,
The
I
house
don't
sits
know, actually,
back on
no.
Park Road and the
Wrong
other
one.
part sits on Ohio. But there was one over there where it got pretty wide, but it was allowed, but it was checked off.
And I think that's probably all the more reason, you know, just if there's gonna be all these different exceptions, and yes, you can this, if this is circumstances this way, I think it would be helpful just to, whatever we can
Yeah.
have would be valuable.
In the past, it's always just been one person saying yes or no based on whatever
Right.
they thought, and I just don't think that's fair to people.
Oh, I agree.
In the future too, if there's more information that we get, you know, other than just driving by and not knowing where he wants to put it at, whoever it may be, I think if they had, it's easy to print off a Google Earth or whatever to outline what they
Well,
want.
like the mayor said, Ron is the expert on the distances from the curbs and all those different ordinances. So maybe there'd be times when he could go lay them out,
You would have to get him a
measure.
measure. I guess the big one is the no access hardship. If they don't have access to an alley in the back or something, that's where the special exception applies.
So the next thing was, we had held over the trash pickup approval at 418 West 22nd. That business was
Reliant biomedical.
Is that because my question of whether it's going to be
Yeah.
medical waste or not?
Yeah, biomedical. What was the name of that? I don't have it here either. It was in the
Reliant Biomedical.
but what they do there is work on medical equipment. So it's not.
Oh, so there's no medical waste?
No,
They
no.
just work, okay.
I think that needs to be stipulated if we grant him approval that no biomedical or medical waste.
All they do, we called over there and all they do is refurbish and sell stuff.
Okay.
There's nothing in them, it's a sell, he said they just sell. is what
Yeah, I
it is.
tried to stop by there a couple times, but they
Yeah,
haven't been
we
open.
called them.
I'm sure that the code for the trash, what you're allowed to throw in that trash can has stipulations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to approve Brad's request?
Second.
Yeah, motion is second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you.
He's an Laura want to come in and stand with you?
Yeah, Laura.
Come on in here. I'm going to talk to you a little about Bob Shoemaker. You don't see a lot of Bob Shoemaker, and you don't hear a lot about the wastewater plant unless something's going really wrong down there. So Bob's been in charge for about 7 years, and you haven't heard much about it because he's been doing a good job. So Bob would like to retire. If you just turn it down, we can all go sit down.
Oh, so we can
Laura,
keep you.
Are you okay on that? No?
She's the one making me
I
retire.
retired in September, it's his turn.
Yeah, his turn.
But you know, you may not hear a lot about the wastewater plant, but it is a lot to those that have been there and are familiar with it. You know, there's a lot of science and biology, chemistry, engineering, electrical that goes on there, and Bob has to be well versed on all this. And we had a $5.5 million project that he basically managed that switched over our processes down there, and it was a big headache for him. He probably wishes we had never done it. But he managed us through that process, and we really appreciate it. So I want you to be able to see him today and recognize him.
But overall years, overall years has been what, 20?
23.
23?
Yep, 23 years. So he's planning to retire on April 30th. We're going to have a little reception for him at the shelter house at the park outside. So anybody that wants to come, I'd be glad to see you.
Bob, we appreciate
Did you want to give a
working
speech
on
or
there.
move out of the way here?
No, you're good, just fine. Thank you for your
I do appreciate you,
Yes,
Bob.
thank you very
for your service.
much.
This is Bob's wife, Laura.
Hello.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Need a motion.
Yep, so we need to make a motion to approve his retirement.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Bye.
Any opposed, same sign. Congratulations, sir.
Mike, you want to give the utility report?
I haven't done it in so long, I don't know for sure.
Welcome back.
Pretty short report for March. Revenue, disbursements, pretty good this month. Actually been pretty good all year. Start off good, 2021. Overtime, $5,000, not too bad. A lot of it was due to some leaks that we had to stay after to repair. Then it just has a list of some projects that we did, the water and sewer crew, and attached should be the water and sewer monthly reports. I think Brad announced this a month ago about our emergency response plans that we had to have them complete this year by EPA. I brought in copies. I didn't have the copies ready at that point in time, and I'll leave them at the clerk's treasurer office if anybody want to look at the reports. Your names are on them, so you might want to see what it's all about. So I'll leave those with Rosemary, and but that's for the water plant and the wastewater plant emergency response. Is there any questions?
No. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Anybody have any questions about the street department report or the transfer station? It was,
Talk about your new hours or the additional hours for the compost site, please.
So, and from now, starting today through the end of May, the compost site will be open every day of the week except for Friday. We need 1 day a week to catch up with all the limbs, do the grinding, and try to manage the site a little bit. So I'd had some people ask about expanded hours, and during this time when everybody's cleaning out their gardens and yards and stuff.
Is Friday the best day to have it closed? Because, I mean, a lot of people take Fridays off to do get caught up on that stuff.
We kicked around what days we would close, and none of them were great. So we just came up with Friday at the end of the week so they could get it cleaned up. And then we're still open Saturday morning, as we have been. We've been kicking around ideas a way that we might be able to be open all day on Saturday, so that may be coming shortly in the future if we get that done. I need to go back just a minute. I wanted to tell you, we had talked a couple of meetings ago about the HRA account for utility employees and a few others. And we were going to switch to Line Code, who is our regular insurance carrier. In the meantime, we found out that that's not really a feasible plan, so the company that SIHO wanted us to go with was called EBC, and they will still take us, so we're going to go forward with switching with them, if that's okay with everybody.
Let's go ahead and take a vote.
EDC, you say?
EBC is the company that SIHO recommended, and they've switched over a bunch of other people that were with SIHO already, so it's worked out pretty well. So I think you had voted that we would switch to Line Co already, so I guess you need to switch that.
Well, there wasn't a vote, so, but I think we need to go ahead and vote to have it.
Let me understand, so you're going from, what counts are going to this other company?
All the employees of the utilities, and are there
Yes.
others?
Has SIHO as their HRA.
Health reimbursement.
Oh, okay.
And you can't just turn those over to a different accounts. There's a lot of rules and regulation because it can only be spent on certain items. So that's why it made it a little more difficult to find somebody to take where we are at this point in time. So
And no one will lose their amounts that
Right.
they have.
3 months later, we've circled back around to this is the best solution.
I appreciate you looking, though.
It would have been nice to have switched to Line Co, but it was just very iffy of whether they would do it, and it was gonna cost like $20,000 just to look into it. So this wasn't a good option.
So you need a motion?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
please.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you.
One last thing I wanted to make you aware, we're starting to work on some of the policies with our billing, and, you know, I've talked to you before, we had that extended payment plan during COVID. And from time to time, we have to do things that are not exactly spelled out of how they'll be handled. And one of those is how we deal with customers that have a extremely large water bill. It's not spelled out very well how to handle. There's some leeway in the law that allows us to make arrangements with people. But we just recently had somebody that had like a $3,000 water bill.
Wow.
And, you know, to make an arrangement, we had to try to make an arrangement to keep them where they were able to pay, and, you know, the house didn't end up vacant and everything else, so we made a payment arrangement with them of $100 a month, as long as they continue in and pay their regular bill. And it's just a little, you know, there's not a specific policy for how to handle those, and I think we're gonna try to update, but I just kind of wanted to make you aware that we do make those arrangements from time to time with people, so. I think that's all I got.
Is that on the water portion only, or the entire bill?
On the water portion, and then usually we can write off the sewer on a water leak. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Chief Bolos, are you there, sir?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Brad.
Hi, Randy.
First off, I can't remember if I came for permission to auction off some of our older cars that's parked back here, so I'm re-asking again. We thought we did 4 cars
I can't
that we need
remember.
to auction off. I'm pretty sure I did, but
I'm positive you did, pretty much.
what's that?
I'm almost positive that we already approved that.
Okay.
We can always do it again,
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
make sure.
Maybe
Yeah,
safe.
just to make sure, because we're in that process now. We've got them stripped of all our equipment and
I'd make that motion.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. You threw me off, sorry.
Do you know when the auction is?
McCreary has made contact with Coons, and we're getting ready to take it over there and park it there. So I want to say, well, we have to go 30 days out, so I'd say by June, we'll
Okay.
have the auction. All right, so our March reports, on our law reports, we accumulated 1,117 citations, or 71. The accidents, the non-injury accidents have gone up to 47. Traffic stops, 177. And just, it's not on this sheet, but I've written some other statistics down. So our drug-related calls, and this is just under a month's worth, are 39. And our abandoned vehicles or orange stickered vehicles, just in March, this is officer generated, not ordinance enforcement generated, we had 8. And our ordinance violations, which are just last week, 6 new on top of the sheets that you guys have, are 6 for last week. We are just shy of 4,000 calls up to this point since January 1. So, I mean, our guys are staying busy out there with what they, over 1,000 calls in just this last month, so. I'm gonna try to put together, a little more stats. When I read off the drug-related calls, that's officer-generated calls. That was 39, so we have one drug detective who's out there basically on his own. And he has written 3 search warrants, arrested a total of 15, 7 weapons involved on those, 24 needles, paraphernalias that he's confiscated, 46 grams of meth, 11 grams of heroin fentanyl, and 21 grams of marijuana. So he's working on his own and generating calls on his own. We do have our patrol division assisting when he serves these warrants. So the patrol's involved with him also because he's on his own out there. So those are the numbers. I plan on giving you those types of numbers monthly. So, any questions on any of that?
No, but I appreciate that very much. And I think lets the public know that we're not sitting around twiddling our thumbs.
Absolutely.
In the police department. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, we have the printed reports and to mention, oh, you have the reports, do you have any questions? And that's may be sufficient for us, but those who want to read it in the paper or see it on air, I think it's best to see numbers and connect it with just how much work is done in each department.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We do have the
Thanks,
new,
Randy.
hey Randy, talk about the new ordinance officers a little bit.
I think I did last week.
Yeah, we finally got them up and running those, so.
Yeah. So he's been at work for a week, so he's still trying to learn the process. And there's a lot to learn, a lot of computer generated stuff that he's got to stay on top of to keep track of the follow-ups and phone calls and what citations were issued, where they're at in court. So, I mean, it's still a process. We're issuing a lot of citations, but it's a court process. So, the public, they have to be patient on that. We can't just fix it tomorrow. It just doesn't work that way. So we're kind of at the mercy once it goes to court on their scheduling, not ours. We don't have any say in when the court schedules what case or what property or whatnot. We don't have that say. It goes to the court system.
Do I understand Myers is gone?
No, he's still here.
Oh, okay, that's in addition to?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Hey, on a side note, I'd like to thank you for letting, I believe it was Kevin Perry and Dean Rowland that handled the funeral of a family member of ours. Acted very professional, stood at attention. Family appreciates it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Please pass that along to them.
Sure will.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Randy.
John, you out there, sir?
Hello.
Hi.
For the month of March, we did 8 hours, 52 minutes of media production, 7 hours, 8 minutes of original production. We're continuing to do the Crafty Corner, Fun Foods and Sciences and Scary at the library, which is of course broadcast live to their Facebook page, and then of course we rebroadcast that and air it on our YouTube channel as well. So those are very interesting programs. Of course, we have the new cooking show that we're airing, and that's been pretty popular. People enjoy the cooking stuff. So, do you have any questions?
Where's my fudge?
It's in my refrigerator.
He finally brought me some fudge over, and it was delicious.
Yeah, that was the library cooking show, and that was pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, that was good.
Lemon fudge.
I've not had any of your cinnamon candy in a long time.
Oh, we have to start making stuff.
See what we started here, John?
Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Okay. Chief Harden.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Glenn.
I got in on the lemon fudge too, let me tell you. It was really good. I just happened to luck into, I was in here when you came in. So I have a copy of my report. We had 8,451 miles total on all our vehicles, and 380 calls for service. That's pretty standard, but we're well within our statistical averages. We're still down 2 full-time staff. When you say 2 people, it doesn't sound like a lot, but you think that's 10%. That's 10% of our department right there. So conversely, overtime is continuing to stay higher than what I would like it. I do have a couple other, I kind of put marketing ideas, I guess, for lack of a better term, I didn't really know how to phrase that, but I am working on some other ideas for recruitment.
Just so everyone understands, I mean, he's working his tail off. It's not Clint's fault. We are in a nationwide shortage. And locally, Indiana is in a shortage, pretty significant. And what was the number? Like, were we 1,000 short just in Indiana?
600 to 1,000 open positions at any point in time in the state of Indiana.
Yeah,
Are you talking paramedics or?
Yes.
EMT?
paramedics. So it's not a localized problem. It's a problem everywhere. So you're like, why can't you get anybody who shouldn't be that hard? Well, it is, because it's a very specialized field, and it takes 2 years to get that certification, so it's not easy to do. With COVID, they got shut down.
Yeah. And the schools are becoming tighter and tighter. There's fewer and fewer schools, so there's more competition to get into the spots that are available. So it is, there's a lot of factors to that.
Hey, Clint, I had a question on the second line on the EMT drivers. How did that number jump up so high? Went from 63 to 99. Is that a typo, or is
Nope,
that?
that's not a typo. That is a retirement, because they're allowed to bank up to 80 sick days. So when they retire or resign with proper notice and so forth and so on, the city is obligated to buy that back. I had one person that was $35,000.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's and that's the line it would come out of if somebody called in sick. So
Okay.
that's the line it comes out of when they retire and we have to buy it out. So, yeah, that's the largest. We had 2 last year that totaled about 32 to 33. This was 1 individual. So that's the reason.
Okay, thank you.
We did complete an advanced airway class with McGrath laryngoscopes, which was the video laryngoscopes that you guys approved late last year. We already had 1 use out of it, and he said it was the slickest, easiest thing ever. So I was really, really happy with that. So we've got a 2-day pre-hospital trauma life support class coming up in May. We try to do a couple of these specialized classes. My goal is to do 1 in the spring, 1 in the fall. So this is one of the specialized, and we have to bring in outside instructors. Luckily, we have Staff Light. They will come and instruct for free for us. It's part of their PR, their corporate, how their community outreach. And they usually bring breakfast or lunch one day, so it's a win-win. I am working with ABS, who's our billing service. We're doing a rate study to kind of look, see where we're at with our rates versus everyone else, and as long as we're staying above the minimums that we need to stay above for Medicare, Medicaid, insurance, et cetera. They said it would be a few weeks before they could get their end done, so I'd say probably by next month I should have something for you to report back. Also, back to staff flight, one of the things we've had is with the helicopters, you know, you don't always, they move bases, you don't always know where they're coming from, et cetera, et cetera. They offer a, what they call a one-call service. So you pick up, you call one number, and they have on their screen in their dispatch center who is the closest helicopter, down to the hundredths of a nautical mile. So it will no longer be our dispatch has to call this service or that service. What we're looking at is trying to, and there's more steps to go through to get this all worked out, but we're going to call one number, be able to call one number. And they'll say, okay, well, this aircraft A is closest, but they're out of service because they're already on a flight, so we're going to contact aircraft B and aircraft C if we need two of them. It also helps with if you're bringing two aircraft into the same scene, which we've done twice here in the last 6 months, that those pilots have to know that there's another aircraft in the area. They are not on, they're not on a air traffic control, you know, isn't saying, hey, there's another helicopter, you know, they're below these minimums. So they have to know that you've got another aircraft coming in or you could have a big problem. That will help with that. They keep up with the locations, the bases, the nautical miles, the times, all that, and then they will send us they call transparency report. So I can see, well, we called for a helicopter even though we're going through staff flight, and they sent us Lifeline. Well, the reason they sent Lifeline was the closest staff flight helicopter was out of service, or it was on a flight, or it was locked in due to weather. And they'll do the Indiana services and the Ohio services. Sometimes we can get an aircraft in from the east side if there's weather along the western front. You know, maybe there's weather down through Greenfield. We can sneak somebody in from Dayton and get them back to Dayton before that weather gets here versus trying to go to Indianapolis. So we don't need to be making that call. That's somebody that has that weather in front of them, has all the statistics, knows the flight speeds, can say, okay, you've got 32 minutes before the storm front's going to hit, you need to get in and get out. We don't have that information, they do. So I'm wanting to put that back on them. It's a safety thing, it's a time management resource thing for my people. So it's at early stages, but I'm working with them, and they've given me a presentation, and once we get, they gave me kind of a generic presentation, but once we get some definite, here's the locked-in mileage and nautical miles and times, and they take into account that this type of aircraft that's here flies faster than the aircraft that's sitting here. There's a lot of factors involved in this, so they'll have all of that. So I'll try to get you something that's understandable, and so you can kind of see how we're going to play that. And we're also going to have to take it to the 911 board because ultimately it is going to be 911 center that's dealing with it. So.
And you'll have a cost to all that with it?
No. The only thing they ask is that if all things being equal, that they get the first nautical. So if what they ask is 5 nautical miles is what they ask. So if they are at 20 and another service is at 24.9, or 24.9 and the other service is 20, that's 5 nautical miles. That's less than 2 minutes that they go ahead and are allowed to take the call because it's their overhead. So, and that's pretty standard. I've talked to some other dispatch centers, the 5 nautical mile buffer zone is pretty standard, and that's all it is. So no, it's no cost. It's part of them being a good corporate entity is the way they look at it. So good. Do they have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Clint.
Thanks, Clint.
Catherine?
Hi.
Hello.
I don't have a lot today in case you guys have questions about my report. I just have a couple things to ask.
The first is we would like to pursue a grant opportunity with the National Parks Association. We're going to ask for $500,000 towards Second Street Park. And I need your permission to pursue that grant.
What's that, will that grant, I just gotta ask, but will
It's
that grant,
capital funding.
will it
so-
by chance, will it help cover some of the Longwood Bridge costs?
No, it would just be for Second Street.
Just for Second Street?
Yeah,
Because it's for parks only, not structure, right?
right, it wouldn't apply to the bridge.
And is there any matching?
No.
Motion to approve the request?
Second?
We have a motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you very much.
The second thing is baseball opening day is coming up on May 1st, so I think that's 2 Saturdays from now. We're gonna get started with the parade at 2 o'clock, and then we will have opening ceremonies, and then we'll start in with the games. That will also be the first night of movies in the park. We're gonna have Angels in the Outfield at dusk down at Babe Ruth. So I need to ask permission to close the streets for the parade. We're gonna start at the courthouse parking lot and walk north to 8th Street. And then we'll turn on Eastern, walk up to Charles, turn on Charles, and walk down the hill to the ball field. I think it's the same route they used before, so. But that would probably need to get shut down about 1:30, I would guess.
When was that parade, Catherine?
May 1st.
We work with the police department on shutting those down, or with the street department, whichever is appropriate, and make sure.
Would Central be closed at that time?
Yeah, it'll be closed from 5th to 8th.
Okay.
And we'll turn east on 8th Street, on the Eastern. Then we'll walk north on Eastern to Charles, and we'll turn on Charles and walk down the hill.
I move that we approve the logistics for the parade.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you very much.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Catherine,
Yep.
see lots of people up there on the Frisbee golf or whatever it's called,
Disc golf.
disc golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see
you're
it. I mean, they're well equipped. They have bags full of different sizes and
Yep. You have-
thicknesses.
It's like golf, like you use a different club, like they use a different disc for different distances. We're working on the signs right now. I'm working with a marketing company out of Hagerstown, and they're designing the signs for us, so those should go up soon.
It's amazing how many people are they coming from other cities?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they travel to go play different courses, just like you would golf.
That was interesting. A lot of people out there.
That it?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Chief Jones.
Good afternoon.
It's got
Afternoon,
Overtime's finally creeping back down a little bit. Hopefully we get that back down to normal, comparable to last year's numbers. Any questions on the overtime? No. The monthly report is looking a little bit different still yet. Still several pages. I'm not sure if you guys like that versus the old, just the total numbers, but
I like the graph. Just
I
make
tried to divide it up.
very visual here.
Right.
Is it easier for you?
Oh, yeah, that's, I'm getting better at it. I'm still having to compile everything into one document, but this gives you a little bit better idea of, what all we're going on. And then the inspections, a little bit more descriptive than just a total number of hours spent on inspections. And you'll see those start to increase a little bit once we get out. And I got 3 more inspectors now. They all passed their certs, so that'll be nice. So we'll be able to start doing more annual inspections. And then the last section is, gives you a better idea of the training that we do instead of just a total number of training hours. Guys train pretty much every day on, many different things, but that gives you a better, idea on what all we do instead of, like I said, just a total number of hours, so. But, if you guys wanna see anything different, I'll be glad to, get some things on there. But I'm still playing with it, still working with it a little bit, trying to get as much information as I can on there. So I know it's a lot, but.
It's very good.
It's helpful.
Very good, Tom.
Well, sometimes, unless you come over and, visit, you're not really aware of what all we do during the day, so.
sir.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good day,
Have a
bud.
good day. Be safe.
Okay, and move on down to old business. Is there any old business? Oh, miscellaneous business?
You ever see anything about iPad?
Yeah.
Just bring everybody up to speed. Chad and I are working with iPad, and we're getting ready to do some on-site visits for job site analysis at the street department, utilities, and the transfer station. Getting with all the department heads to make sure that they have all the OSHA compliant training documented per employee. There's a lot of different insurance things coming through. It's really hitting a lot right now, just because we really just kind of jumped in. But I'll keep you guys informed through email and maybe through meetings or whatever of what we're doing. Biggest thing is making sure that all of us are OSHA compliant, so.
Yes.
They used to provide classroom training, sometimes a couple times a year. I don't know if they still do that.
They will do that. He's busy. I mean, he only comes down like once every 4 months, 3 or 4 months. So we're gonna focus the first 2 on the job site and make sure that, we, visit the facilities and kind of look. It's kind of like a pre-OSHA inspection, so we can identify hazards before OSHA hears about hazards or something, or before something happens mainly, to the employees. So.
A lot of the other trainings, they have a good library on video resources. So at our monthly department head meetings, we all go through it, and then we can do more formalized training as we go out, because each department has their own specialized training. Like the street department doesn't need to do some of the training, fire department does it specialized. So, but there'll be training the street department does, the fire department won't need to do. So we do general, then we break it down to each individual group, just to make sure we're safe. Like number one goal is we want to go home at night. That's key for safety. Compliance is a secondary issue. That we gotta make sure we're staying in compliance with all the forms, the documentation, the reporting. It's quite a bit. So Brian's really heading that up. He's taking the lead on that. He's doing a fantastic job. So it's kind of overwhelming, to be honest, to get one started, because getting one off the ground and running it's a lot of work. But we're getting there. We're making progress in that area. So that's what we're doing with safety. So thank you for everything you're doing there, Brian.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Any other miscellaneous business? If not, I've got one. I'm excited about this one. We applied for the COVID-19 relief funding of $250,000, and we were awarded. Good. The breakdown of that is, we kind of did something a little unique. They had like 3 things you could go after. And so we talked to them, and I said, there's a couple things that would really be beneficial for us. And so we talked to Okra quite a bit about it, and they liked our ideas. And what we're doing is we're going to spend $53,000 of that $250 going towards Wi-Fi in 2 locations. So the parks will get high-speed Wi-Fi, and then around the courthouse area downtown we'll get high-speed Wi-Fi. The reason being, we have a north location and a southern location for students. We have kind of a large county, so if they need to come in to do schoolwork, they can pull in the park anywhere and sit, or they can pull in the courthouse or sit downtown and still to get their schoolwork done. So that was a driving factor behind getting those 2 Wi-Fi locations. And then the $197,000 will go to support our local businesses. So the Redevelopment Commission is meeting Friday. We'll sit down with what Klein Peter has pulled together for us. And then probably early next week, you'll see us start to petition or give information out so people can know how to apply, what they need to do for the businesses. So it's a good thing to help fund our local businesses. So I'm excited about that. That was a big win for everybody. So, but we'll get more information out next week. Okay, move on down to claims.
Claims for city was $129,579.37. Payroll was $356,624.23. Utilities, $359,669.07.
Easy for you to say.
Motion approved the claims.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, it's very
Second.
complicated.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Just a little tongue twister, so.
Oh my gosh. My eyes don't cross.
Move on down to the public forum. Is there anyone out there, Clint? Nope. Okay.
I would like to mention, I want to thank FCN Bank for their shred day last weekend. They had lots of volunteers and lots of people showing up with old documents that probably been around way too long. So I appreciate them offering that services.
Let me add to that. If you didn't have time to gather your documents for that shred day, the transfer station shred day is the second Saturday in May and second Saturday in October. So you have a couple more weeks to get it for the first one. If you can't get it all by then, you can get it. And it'll be the same time next year too. Second Saturday May, second Saturday in October, unless there's a pandemic.
Yeah. And next year for FCN Bank is the 21st, I believe, of May.
May or April?
I'm sorry. No, I can't tell you. Sorry.
We'll get that date for you.
Yeah, we got a year I'll get it right in a year.
Give a little time.
Old.
We're not going there. Okay. Anything from anybody else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Have a wonderful day.